Hey guys, today we're going to learn useState by adding and subtracting number. Just for a demo, you can add 2, say add 5, 2 plus 5 should be 7, and then we can subtract, let's say minus 3 should be 4, and then we can also reset. Perfect. Alright, so we need an H, which will be our number, and then we will need a button that will say reset to reset the number. Then we need an input to input our number, and we need two buttons for add and subtract. Save. So what is useState? Well, useState is a hook that allows you to have a state variables and functional components. That is very important. You can only use useState and other hooks such as useState and useEffect inside of functional components. So you can't use useState in a class component. So remember that you can't use useState inside a class component. You can only use them in a function component. Now, so let's start. So this too, we have to store it somewhere, and we're gonna store it using useState. Okay, so let's import useState from React, and in here, what we need is const current number equals useState, and then the initial number, which will be 0, right? Save. Now this variable is the current number, right? But we want to update it by adding or subtracting a number. So what we need to do is put this like this, and then set the current number and use this variable to update our current number. So if we want to add to our current number, let's say we want to add 2, we would have to use set current number to add the current number to 2. Okay, so here this 2, instead of 2, it will be the current number. Now if we save this, instead of 2, it should be 0 because we set it to 0 initially. Alright, so if we change this to 5 and save, it should be 5 initially. Let's go back to 0. Perfect. Now, there's 3 functions that we have to implement, and that is the reset, the add, and subtract. I'm going to save it. Perfect. Now, for reset, what we need to do is on click, we will pass in the reset function. So reset, and then inside the reset function, we will use set current number to update our current number, right? So if we want to update our state variable, we would have to use the second variable. So let's use it. So set current number, and how would you update it? And this is how you would update the current number. Open and close parentheses, and then the number you want it to be. In this case, we're resetting the number, so set current number to 0. Save. That's all you need to do. So let's say initially we have 5. Save. Now if we click reset, then this number should be 0. Nice. Now let's implement the add function. So here we want to add the current number. Keep in mind the number that we want to add is inside the input element. But right now we don't have access to that number, right? So we want to add the current number to number inside the input, but we don't have access to that number. So what we need to do is the value. We need to get the value, and we need to create another useState variable, which is going to be, I'm just going to call it number, and then set number, and here it'll be 0 initially, and then for the value it will be the number, and then every time the input change, what we need to do is grab the event of the input, and then every time the input change, what we want to do is set the number parse int e target that value, and then that will be the value, which is the number that is in the input. So if we save and save, nice. Now why am I using parse int? This parse int, if I take it off, what will happen if we remove parse int? This is basically a string. We're actually setting the number to a string, which we don't want. We want it as an int. So we need to do parse int so that this number will be an integer variable. So save, and then let's implement add. To implement add, like I said earlier, what we need to do is set set the current number, take the current number and add it to the number from the input. Save. Then let's test it out. So let's put this back to 0, save, then let's add 4. Oh, we forgot to use our function, so on click, pass in, that's add function. So add 4, perfect. Let's add another 4, should be 8. Let's add 25, it should be 33, perfect. Now let's reset, perfect. Now for subtract should be the same as add, it's just a few tweaks. So here I'm just going to copy this and then set current number. Instead of plus, it will be a minus. Save. Should be a T, save. Now if we subtract, it should be negative 25. Perfect. Now if we reset, perfect. That's the basics of useState. It's a state variable that holds a value. This doesn't have to be an integer. It can also be a boolean. It can be an array. It can be a string, and it can also be objects. Now, if you have any questions, please join my Discord server. The invitation link is going to be in the description below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.